Hello everyone, this is Kaushik Kumar from SRIRAM Law Academy, and in this video I'm going to be telling you how to tackle the essay section in the IIT HSE exam. So a general idea for any kind of good writing is this particular mnemonic that I've come across is the ABCs of good writing. That is A for accuracy, B for brevity, and C for clarity. Now accuracy meaning whatever you're going to be writing should be correct, using the correct kind of grammar, the correct kind of sentence structures, and the correct vocabulary. And the general logic of the sentence itself, whatever you're going to be writing, needs to be accurate and needs to be correct. What we mean by brevity is that it should be concise. Now, this is one of the factors which a lot of students struggle with, in the sense that they start writing and they feel that the longer the sentences are and the more convoluted they are, it just sounds more nice. But that's actually the wrong way to go about it, because the more concise and the more precise your sentences are, the better it is for the person who's reading it to understand what exactly the message you're trying to put across. And for that purpose, brevity is something which is really, really important. So make your sentences and your paragraphs very concise, keep it very to the point, and keep it very focused towards what exactly you're trying to pass along. And that brings us along to C for clarity, and that is where you need to have a clear idea as to what the message is that you are trying to put across, and make sure that you structure your whole essay in that particular manner, because that clarity of what you have in your mind needs to be presented in a manner, because the person who's going to be reading the essay may not know exactly what thoughts are going on inside your head, and presenting that in the right manner with the right kind of clarity and the right kind of structure is something which is really, really important. And that is why remember these the ABCs of good writing for essays as the A for accuracy, B for brevity, and C for clarity. Now, having said that, there are particular things that you need to keep in mind while you're writing an essay for the IIT HSE exam. And the first thing is to have a really good starting point. That is a really good introduction wherein you're presenting what exactly is the premise of the general nature of the essay, right? Where what exactly you're going to be tackling, how in what direction you're going to be taking the essay towards. And that good start is going to be a really good foundation for you to continue to go into the deeper sections and analyze the more complex areas of the essay, because that can really set the tone for how the essay is going to go. And in general, anybody who's reading any essay, if they really enjoy reading the first part of the essay, they are in a much better mental position to actually appreciate what's going on within the essay. And that's just laying down the groundwork for you to do really well across the whole essay in general. Now, so having said that, the next important bit is that of the organizational structure. Now, I'm sure a lot of you must have heard about this particular phrase and must be placing a lot of must know that this is a very important aspect of writing an essay itself, in the sense that there is a general order of ideas of how it should be presented for the ideas to be in a very coherent manner, and so that the essay sounds and looks like it's a very polished form of an essay. Like for instance, just giving you an example, whenever you're talking about general and specific ideas, you always start off with the general idea, saying that this is the general idea that you're going to be talking about, and then you move on to a very specific part or specific aspect of that idea. Like for instance, if you're talking about the impact of something, you're talking about the impact of a particular issue, you start talking about the worldwide impact of that particular issue, and then you move on to the individual impact that it has had in particular parts of the world. Like that, so that is a very specific example that I'm talking about. So that is a general idea and the general organizational structure that needs to be followed for any essay to be coherent and to flow in a right manner, so that you can present the arguments in the best way possible. Now, speaking of arguments, powerful arguments are really, really important and can play a huge role in determining how well you're going to be doing. Now, as much as facts play a huge role in determining how well your essay is going to go and your knowledge as to what's happening in the world, your arguments are going to be the key in determining how well you're going to perform in the essay overall. Because they're looking for your ideas, they're looking for your opinions and your thinking process in general. And for that purpose, powerful arguments which are unique and original are really, really useful for you to present in any particular essay, and not just continue to make it like a report where you're stating a lot of different facts. So arguments need to be very well founded, shouldn't be shouldn't be convoluted, make it very simple, and make sure that these arguments are really strong and are very, very relevant to the whole point of the essay that you're trying to make, right? The next important factor that I want to talk about is the right choice of words, or diction, so to say. So this articulation of articulation of these particular points that you're trying to look out for, that you're trying to present in the essay, is going to play a huge role, because there are very specific words you need to be using to convey a very particular tone that you want to convey by writing a particular essay, right? So it's about using the right words in the right spaces. Now, there are a lot of synonyms for a lot of words, and there are a lot of words which are used interchangeably a lot of times in the wrong manner. And that is something which you need to keep an eye out for, because the right choice of words can really, really change the whole view of how the essay is being looked at. And generally it conveys the right tone that you want to convey, because because if you don't use the right words, you as the writer may be trying to impose a different kind of view, whereas the reader might read it and have a different opinion of the whole issue that's being spoken about in the essay. And that's the worst thing that can happen, because as the writer, you're trying to pass on your opinion and your arguments in the same manner as it's in your head, through the essay to the reader, and it should remain the same manner until it reaches the reader as well. And for that, the right choice of words, or your diction, so to say, is the most important aspect. And that brings us to the last part of the essay, that is the conclusion itself. So for the conclusion, you need to have something which is really clear cut. Clear cut doesn't necessarily have to mean very specific. You don't necessarily have to come to a very decisive conclusion, but it needs to be clear as to what your stance is regarding the whole issue, right? And it needs to relate to what exactly has been spoken about. Now, your conclusion cannot be something which is independent of what you've spoken about in the essay. It needs to be something which is very relevant to all the arguments that you've presented throughout the essay, and come to a conclusion which is relevant based on the facts and based on your opinions and your arguments, right? So that conclusion can really can really end the essay on a really, really good manner, and that will change the way the readers read the whole of the essay, because based on your conclusion, they will go back and look at your arguments to see if it's actually coherent and if it's in the same line as to what your conclusion is going to be like, right? So for that purpose, a very powerful conclusion, a very coherent and clear-cut conclusion is extremely necessary, and can play a huge role in determining how well you do in the essay section for IIT HSE. So having said all that, the essay section is something which I'm sure a lot of you are a little worried about, but one of the best things to do for preparation for the essay section is to make sure that you practice a lot, as much as you possibly can, with sample topics, and write your own essays and make sure you get it marked. Make sure you check how well you're doing, because it's not just enough for you to write these essays, but it's also you also need to know how well you've done, and ask for help in how exactly you've performed in writing these particular essays. Because with a lot of practice, good writing is something which can come really naturally. And with the more and more you practice these essays, the better you're going to get at it. And all these principles that I've just spoken about, and all these factors that you need to keep in mind, will just come so naturally to you that it just doesn't even feel like you're doing a particular task, or if you're doing a particular job. So keep in mind all of these things. Go ahead, log on to the LMS, and look out for my classes and other marathons. Keep in mind all the tactics that I've just spoken about. I'll see you guys in the classes. With that, this is me, Kaushik, signing off.